do unto you. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. Sowing and reaping, giving and receiving. This is my Father's law. Don't think you can escape by confessing blind faith. For God will judge us by the love that we gave. The golden rule is the path in the door. The way of love that cannot be ignored. You want the kingdom, then break your blade. Forgive the ones who betray. Bring freedom to the enslaved. Love the ones I forgave. And by this you are saved. This is the greatest commandment of all. Love one another fulfills the whole law. Eternal life is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. I'll trade your commandments for man-made creeds. You did not teach us to confess and believe, but this is what you commanded. Repent, forgive, love one another. 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 Oh. If you want heaven, open your eyes. If you want mercy, take my hand. If you want heaven, open your eyes. If you want mercy, take my hand. This is the greatest commandment of all. Love one another fulfills the whole law. Eternal life is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command. Love God, love people. This is the greatest command.
Hello and welcome back, my friends, to the Awaken the Christ Within Summit. I'm your host, Aaron Apke, and it is so great to be back with you guys for day number 6, I think, of the summit. Almost at the end of the summit now. We got one more day left after today, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the interviews and sessions as much as I have been. Today, we're doing a live stream with one of my very good friends, closest friends, Mr. Kyle Cease, who many of you are familiar with. And we're going to have a fun conversation today about what is God? What does that word mean? What is Christ? What does that mean? And we've been backstage for the last 20 minutes trying to solve some technical difficulties on Kyle's end with his camera setup. So we had to get Kyle transitioned to a laptop. Let's see if Kyle's here. He was here a second ago. Hey, we got you,
buddy.
Look at that.
Dude, I had a beautiful, gigantic studio that I paid thousands for. And for some reason, we learned just now that it doesn't work with StreamYard.
We literally learned minutes ago.
And it's
This doesn't
ironic
work.
because you said, let's, like hop on early and talk about, what we'll talk about. And the only purpose to hopping on early was to discover the studio didn't work. So this is much more Christ-like, in my opinion, in that
Nice flip there. I like that.
well, it's real though. Like we are moving based on the now and the flow, right? And what's here. So I'm like, is this even too dirty? I don't even know if this is.
There you go. Yeah. Wipe that smudge off.
Your studio looks better next to mine, but our hearts will be even.
Well, see, this is a lesson in attachment, right? Both of us were very attached to the idea of having both of our nice, shiny studios next to each other for the first time. And they're going to love it so much. They're going to think so highly of us and our studios. And then, bam, God removes the desire so that we're left in the void of surrender. And that's what today's conversation is all about.
And if there's any pain about that, that's a gold mine, right? If there's any pain, I didn't get it the way I wanted in anything in my life, that's the trigger, that's the gold mine, right? Like it's true. God literally wanted it that this studio wouldn't be how we work. And look, already you can see the content forming from it because the ego had an agenda and said, no,
sure did.
In the new, expensive, awesome, beautiful studio. And this is so big because it's life, in my opinion, right? Like I really believe, and one time I had a wise man once tell me this, that everything in your life is either a red light or a green light. And the reason everyone stresses is they're sitting at a yellow. So it's a really interesting thing, right? Because you might be like, I really want to be with that person, but they're not interested in you. That's not personal. It's literally life going red light. And imagine if you went to a literal red light in traffic and we're like mad at it. Like, I'm supposed to go through this light now. Screw the other cars that are going this way. Like, you're fighting the literal red light in traffic would be an insane thing. We know when we see it, we're customized to just stop, take a breath. And there's red lights in life when it's like, oh, you didn't get that job, or, you didn't get that person to like you, or you didn't get the outcome that you wanted. That's life being like, stop, take a breath. We're doing other stuff. We're getting you to align with yourself, and then wait for something that's a green light. So the green light in this situation is the laptop and the conversation that forms that wouldn't have formed had we been in the other studio.
Incredible.
Right?
That's what I call a reframe, brother.
I mean, it's really how it works.
We're doing this in real time, man.
Of course.
So Kyle, let me kick us off with this question. The title of our session today is "Merge Me with My Soul, no matter what the cost." What does that statement mean to you?
I think that's the most important thing I've ever said out loud in my life. And I said it almost 6 years ago on ayahuasca, right before I took it. And I said, merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost. And this was in February 2020. And it's so interesting because the first thing the universe did after I said that was clear out a lot of people from my life. It had people that I had energetically wanted to hold up. I wanted to take care of. I wanted to see me. And at one point, a lot of people fell apart, disbanded, got together, triangulated, made different things happen in my life. And it was a really ironic thing because that started an opening for me to look at, who am I if I'm not holding up certain people? I really realized, one just side note, that anyone you're scared to lose in your life, any person you're scared to lose in your life, is a person you're always relieved once they're gone. In other words,
kind of true.
You have a huge heart, and I know that you love me for me, and I know we're good friends, right? I don't have a fear that I'd ever lose you as a friend, right? But there's people, and same here. But there's people that you feel are like falling out of your life, and you realize that if they left, it'd actually be a relief, but you're just scared of the abandonment moment, or you're scared of the lack of control of it. And so it's an interesting thing because that was the beginning of me actually meeting myself. And it was so funny because 2 weeks after I said, merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost, COVID started. So it was the whole world shut down. And I was like, did I do this? It felt like such a miracle. Like the world just suddenly went, let's pause everything. Everyone go inward, stop how they do everything, put on a mask.
So that Kyle can get his act together. Yeah.
Now, I obviously don't mean that literally that, egoically, but I do think that there is an element to the world seems to mirror what I heal inside me. So it's very, very common that when I feel triggered about something, I know that's a gold mine for me to go inward and heal some. I'm bothered that this went this way. It shouldn't, whether it's a worldwide issue, whether it's, someone said something, whether it's the career isn't where I want it, whatever it is, a trigger happens. And the trigger is like something under it where the inner child, the boy inside is like, I'm not enough. And it's using this circumstance to give me the proof that I'm not enough. Right. So it wants to be heard. And it's never not happened for me and many of my clients where when I finally heal the thing and I get okay with what's triggered, that the thing on the outside doesn't change and suddenly become the mirror to that I healed it on the inside. So to give you a really weird example, I was doing a one-on-one once with a woman. She had a major trigger that she hadn't heard from her mom in like 8 years. Her mom won't talk to her. She did a one-on-one with me, and she would start the one-on-one being like, I got to get her to talk to me. I got to get her. We worked for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we started getting her to see her mom has her own life, her own route. She doesn't have to. The woman healed what was inside and what really hurt about it. The woman started releasing and crying and feeling good, got to a place where she was truly fine, where if her mom never talked to her again, started working on her own stuff. And at the end of that call, while I was on with her, her mom texted her. And so
Wow.
it was like the mirror of she healed the thing that said, I'm not enough unless mom responds or calls me. And then she healed it. And then all of a sudden I watched the external happen. And I've had that so many times in my life where I feel like something happened. I'm scared about something happening in the world politically or something. Then I heal the me that wants that, or I let myself experience whatever I'm so scared of internally, like through meditation, face the thing I'm scared of, let it fall apart. Then the external suddenly changes and matches that. Right. So I more and more believe the only goal I have is to get closer and closer to God, to know the truth of what I am, because God has the agenda that's better than what my agenda is. Right. So when people say, what's your biggest intention? This will sound weird to say, but it's not to change everyone's lives. It's not to sell 40 million books. It's not whatever. It's to merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost, and see what God has. Because what God wants to do is better than the best of what Kyle, the egoic construct, could ever do.
Yeah, it's kind of a dangerous affirmation, isn't it? No matter what the cost. And the universe says, all right, hold my beer,
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't want that part. I think a lot of people's pain is they live in negotiation with that cost. So there's people that are like, I don't really want to know the truth because I can't lose this job that God's telling me I don't want. I can't let go of this relationship God says doesn't align. I don't want to lose everyone's approval. I don't want to lose a bunch of money. So you're in this kind of negotiation for the truth, and you're getting the mirror of that. You're getting that thing's half falling apart that you're trying to keep up, and you're not quite merged with source because you're not all in on trying to merge with source. You're all in except for this caveat. So the mirror to that would be those things falling apart in both ways to get you closer to that intention. But no matter what people are scared of, no matter what the cost, but that's because they haven't had that Scrooge moment of the ghost of Christmas freedom showing you what the other side would be like. And then you go, okay, any cost is fine. Give me the truth. Right.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way that human living is. It's like, you got to go through the crucible to get to the gold. The gold is your own spiritual evolution, your own state of being that gets upgraded as you do as Jesus said. You learn to repent, forgive, open your heart, love God, love others more and more every day. We're on this progressive journey. And I feel like you're talking about like my intentions shape my reality, and the triggers and traumas I hold also shape my reality. I really think it works something like this, like the metaphysics of it is that at every moment we're at a new juncture. We're at a new probability vortex, if you will. If we're looking at the quantum model, right? Everything's probabilities. So whatever could happen next, the universe like runs a data set of probabilities. And how do we know which of those timelines we step into at every juncture? It has to be based on our state of being, right? And it's almost like the universe is seeing which of these timelines are you worthy to earn. And so
Right.
like on this side of the spectrum is all the most negative possible timelines. If you really need a good humbling from life, a good catalyst, you could go down this timeline. And the more we go this way, the more it's the abundant, beneficent timelines that are amazing and blissful and wonderful. And so where are you going to land, right? That deciding factor of where you land is your state of being in that moment, what you're carrying, I think.
Yes.
If I'm holding on to certain resentments, unforgiveness, something like that, the universe is reading that and saying, okay, so you don't qualify for this timeline. We have to go back a few. Oh, you're holding on to some judgment against your mother-in-law still? Okay, well, this timeline. And you're kind of getting bumped back the more and more you're holding on to negative energies that don't match those higher timelines.
Right.
So our state of being is the access code to the universe, in my opinion. And that's why monitoring our state of being, checking in with ourselves, which is really the heart of what you're saying, right? Is merge me with myself, my highest self, my soul, no matter what the cost. I think practically speaking, the cost is what's arising in this moment, what resistance is coming up in this moment, and can I lay that down? Can I surrender that to God?
Right. That's so beautiful. Yeah. It's so weird how much, because we identify with it falsely, we don't know how much our body is holding on to that's not us. What I
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean by that? Like, many people identify as an achiever. Like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to get the 7-figure business. I'm going to be number one. And they don't know that a lot of that is sitting on top of trauma. And the amount of
Yeah.
clients I have where I work with people that are like, I got to get my business started this year. I know that I can ask them right after that. And if you don't, what happens? And they start to say, I'm not enough. And it starts to be childhood. It starts to be, I'm a failure to my dad in 1982. Like, right. Like, and so I believe that almost all of what we identify as I is the flip of a coin's solution to trauma. Meaning, like, almost all of the
Mhm.
I gotta do, even I gotta do. Like, when people hear me say, let go, people say, how and what do I do? And I said, what do I do is literally actually the ego keeping itself alive, even also, in that what's here is a much different question than what do I do? Right. So
Mm.
if you're like, what do I do to get there? Because if I don't know how to get there, then I did it wrong and I'll go to hell. In my childhood, I did it wrong and my dad will spank me. I did it wrong and I'll be yelled at. Right. So,
Mhm.
like, it's so funny because almost everything still is, I got to do this. So the ultimate fear of I'm not a failure or I'm not enough doesn't come to light. And what I have them do is actually allow a space for that negative energy and say, you're allowed to be a failure in my body. You're allowed to be not enough in my body. Usually that
I love
ends
that.
up bringing tears because we're here to learn love. And can we love even the negative things? Can you love your shame? Can you love your guilt? Can you love your doubt, lack, your childhood, so we are used to loving at the level of these people have something in common with me, or, they think positively, or we agree politically, but we are not used to loving, people that we know of as our enemies, but also the enemy inside of us, the energy inside of us
Yes. Yeah.
that says you're not enough unless you build a giant company or whatever. And I believe that we're in a time now, 2025, 2026 and beyond, is the dissolving of those characters that we actually needed in the past, the ones that did build the business, the one that could get the relationship so you don't feel lonely. Those are all falling apart. It's almost like all doing effort is dying right now. With people saying, I'm working 60 hours a week and I can't pay the bills. And no matter what I do for my partner, they don't like me anymore. It's like the ego's way doesn't work anymore. And it did 30 years ago, but it doesn't now. You get what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
all our plates are just falling. So everyone thinks they're dying right now, but it's just your false egoic self that's dying. And you're finally actually birthing the real you. But if you're identified with that, you're going to feel suicidal, but know that it's never you that wants to die. It's a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. There's something you said a minute ago that was so good. I think you said, the question is not what should I do, but the question is what is here.
Yes.
I think that's so great because the spiritual path is one of being as present as possible, of course. And the less present we are, the more we're naturally going to be bypassing things that are arising in this moment if we're in past or future. And so,
Right.
in order to awaken the Christ within, in order to really access the essence of Jesus's gospel, I think it requires this radically open heart that you can make space for everything that comes up. And like, I want to ask you about this to get into this topic of what does it mean to love or allow those feelings? As you said, I'm allowed to feel rage in my body, or I'm allowed to feel shame in my body.
Yeah.
Why is that something we should do, Kyle? Aren't we supposed to be avoiding these negative states of being and these negative self-beliefs? And like, why
Yeah.
would we allow something negative?
Well, it's beautiful you bring that up. And what you're referring to, I believe, is a self-help that we actually needed at one point because it was still a jump forward, like The Secret in 2006,
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Hicks saying, focus on what you do want. These teachings actually were still, in a way, a step up from what we had before. It's almost like, I kind of see it like the 80s were like a big entrepreneurial boom, right? Like in the 80s, I remember having a trapper keeper with a Lamborghini on it, and everyone wanted to, Donald Trump had a young guy build your buildings book. Everyone wanted success. I'm talking mainly about America, but it wasn't unheard of in the 80s to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, to want to be a powerhouse, to have giant success. Then we went through a phase where people start saying, we are the 99%, meaning like we are against the idea of being successful and rich people. We're different than those people. Then in like the 2000s, The Secret and Abraham Hicks and different things come out that say, focus on what you do want, don't focus on the negative, which was necessary. That was an evolution from before. You start learning, if I change my thoughts, I can get the Lamborghini through metaphysics. I'm going to picture what I do want. And that's great. Don't focus on the negative. This was a step up. I believe 2020 was the beginning of the breaking open of what was being covered up by the positive thinking, meaning like, if I think positive, I don't have to feel like a failure. In the early 2000s, you don't even know that's there. But then it's like, okay, no matter how much vision boards I put, like I still feel there's depression in here. There's sadness, there's darkness, there's shame, there's loss, there's fear, there's not enoughness. And 2020 was like, to me, if I look at it politically, I just get triggered. But if I look at it like spiritually, I think of what's God doing here. God was almost revealing to you how much trauma has not been seen, how much darkness, how much success you built out of because I don't believe I'm enough, how much you made happen because you're scared that no one will like you. And then you start revealing certain things. And 2020 to 2025 started being more about getting to real raw truth and losing certain beliefs, certain people. I mean, in the last 5 years, family members don't talk to each other anymore. It's like there's people that split based on arguments about the vax or different things, right? So people had different arguments politically. They don't talk to them anymore. People let go of their friends. In the past, you had MySpace, you had 20,000 friends. Now we have 2 or 3 good ones. And then we let go of thousands of people we don't align with.
And
right?
you're one of them, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. You too, man. Truly. And I know that so many people I know, to get to their truth, had to be, isolated from their family and get to real things and start to feel what's in here. Oh my God, there's a part of me that feels I'm alone. I'm not enough. Now, if I bury that now in 2025 and beyond with, I'll just start a 7-figure business or get someone to like me, I still know that wound is here. So I can't cover this wound up with a positive thinking anymore. I have to. It's actually just an addiction to think positive when this is coming up. And God is going, I am getting the wounds out. So I feel like before 2020, it was almost like we all had a 1-story house that we made perfectly. And then 2020 happens and it shows you, hey, there's a door to an attic. So the good news is this is a 2-story house, but the bad news is in that attic, there's dead bodies and rats and all kinds of stuff you got to work on. So we find we have a bigger house, and a lot of people go, I wish it was back to the old days. And it's like, no, you don't. The only reason this is bad right now for you is your consciousness is expanding. And back then, this stuff was in here, but your lens was so small that you were looking through. So the good news is your lens is opening more, and how you see the world is so much deeper, and how you see yourself is so much truer. The bad news is, in a good, but still is good news, it's just revealing to you a bunch of unseen stuff you haven't seen. So we're facing our loneliness, our darkness, our fear. And I find that when I look at it, when when I look at the one who feels lonely, when I look at the one who feels like he's not enough unless he changes his business, when I look at the one who feels like he's a, people don't like him, whatever, I get really present with him, because the world would be mirroring, how I see the world would be mirroring to me the wounds that aren't seen. And listen for a while and don't do any of the things that usually distract from that. And it starts to usually break apart. Sometimes it breaks apart in tears. Sometimes it breaks apart in just feeling seen, whatever, in a different way. And then every time that distortion breaks apart, it's replaced by more God. And you'll notice you're less time driven. You're less, if you are holding a bunch of regret, you're holding past. So you need the future as the escape from that past. The more these things truly get alchemized, the one that releases the regret releases it. What happens is all of a sudden you're more here. And from here, ironically, it's a much higher vibration than the highest high you try to get to in order to escape the low, right?
Yeah.
The now is much higher vibration than the high vibration everyone's trying to get, that I kind of think of more of as like the Las Vegas slot machine. You hit jackpot on it, you hit a high. Well, you're circumstantially high. So tomorrow you're going to want that high again. So you're going to live on the slot machine and lose all your money. So every high comes with a low.
Yeah.
Right? Because the high that everyone's trying to get, like falling in love or a 7-figure business, is not higher vibration. That's addiction stopping you from the now. So the highest vibration there is all that is in the now. And it's trying to dissolve the gunk that's under your, I better become something, because under it, I'm nothing.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought up the idea of addiction, because oftentimes when I talk about growing up as a Christian and reforming Christianity, I address this idea of a certainty addiction, which is only more prominent in Christianity, but not exclusive to Christianity. All of us have certainty addiction. It just, if it's not for religion, it'll be for something else.
Right.
I need to know that I'm right. I need to know that I'm safe. I need to be certain that my outcomes are going to happen. The ego is addicted to certainty.
Right.
It wants to know, because certainty equals safety. And this is the power, man, of one of Jesus's teachings I love the most, where he said famously, you've heard it was said in the Bible, Leviticus, Exodus, Deuteronomy, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. But today I give you a new commandment. Love your enemies, bless those who persecute you. He goes on and says, for if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if he says something after that similarly, but the idea is this, right? What if love your enemies is actually also a metaphysical statement of love your enemies that are in here, right? All the versions of you find shameful and unworthy of love. I know that you've really discovered this on your own inner journey of spiritual growth, as I have, that it really all comes down to just literally meeting every possible version of you, the version of you that got dumped and you lost your job and you're a loser living in your car. Oh, I would hate myself in that reality. Okay, find that version of you that you would hate and love it, and make sure that version of you feels like at a subconscious level, if that happened, that's okay. I'll still love you. I'll still accept you. You're allowed to be a homeless drug addict on the street, or whatever.
Yes.
Find all your worst possible realities, the versions of you that you find are shameful and unworthy of love and acceptance, and give them that yourself. Love the enemies within you, and bless the enemies that persecute you, that judge you in your mind. It has to start internally, because if we're not accepting the enemies in us, all the versions of ourselves we hate and despise, then you better believe we're going to reject the people out there that reflect them back to us. The loving your neighbor starts from within. That's why he literally qualifies it by saying, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
You got to have self-love then, if you're going to know how to actually love someone as yourself. Because if you're abusive to yourself, if you're a narcissist, if you're bypassing, if you're doing anything that's not loving to yourself, you will always do it to others until you heal it within. And this is one of those things, Kyle, that sounds hokey pokey, new age. Oh, that's just a bunch of platitudes. It is the realest thing you'll ever experience once you go through the healing process. The difficulty is, right, you can't see it before you start to heal it. It's hidden from you. So you're like, I'm not projecting. That's ridiculous. These ideas don't make any sense. And then when you get humble and you start really being honest with yourself and doing some deep self-reflection, you start to go, wow, I do really beat myself up and judge myself a lot. I'm really hard on myself when I fail and don't meet my expectations. And maybe that's why I'm hard on other people when they don't meet my expectations too. And
Right.
then you start to see, oh, wow, literally my outer world is just a mirror of my inner world.
Completely. That's so good. And the way I find that I love something is not like, I don't even tell it like I love you even if you're a failure. I literally just,
Mhm.
I find that I just hear it for a while. Like there's no love greater than being a space holder, whether it's for
Yeah.
someone or you. Like I don't think there's anything. That's my love language. It's the biggest thing in the world. It's what I do when I do one-on-ones. It's what my calls are. You bring someone on and literally I'm just hearing them deeper than they hear themselves.
Mhm.
And hear past that egoic construct that won't let themselves listen, because the I they've created is something that actually was designed to never hear what's inside. And so,
Mhm.
when I start to feel off, some days I don't notice that I'm in a doer that fixes it. And then some days I just wake up and I'll feel my ego go, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'll go, what? And I'll finally just go, what pain is here? And it doesn't not only talk in words. It's just like, I'll just feel there's a lump in my chest or tar in my throat or a feeling of a block in my, it wants to be heard. That's a boy that's used to being covered up through my success or an image that I'm trying to create or what people think. And the longer I sit with it, like, dude, that happened yesterday. I was just walking with my wife, Amber, that's her. And we were,
Mhm.
we were on a walk and I just was feeling, and I just let feeling keep happening. And I just started saying, oh, I just feel, uh, we're going through a thing right now where we happen to be leasing our house, and it's long story short, they want the house back, or they're going to sell it to us, but they want like 300,000 more than appraisal. And so we're in a confusing state. And I noticed that I have a constant optimism that's like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll make this happen. And I noticed I know too much now. And there was a pattern that wanted to talk. So Amber and I were just walking, and I just said to her, I feel embarrassed that we have to stress about this house thing. And I just started bawling, which might have sounded really you got to be a healthy masculine, never feel anything. But I felt like I was allowing myself to be so vulnerable and say, like, there's stress here and there's a feeling of not enoughness that I bet you even 2 months ago, I would have covered up with 9 million solutions and those would have still worked. But they also are here not revealing what hurts. So there's a boy inside that feels pressure, and I bet he got it from his dad, that I am known as the provider for my family. And that because I'm the provider, that means God isn't. So my egoic self is going to do it, right? So kind of just bouncing off what you said, I brought a new level of love to a me that I would never have known was there, because I've had so many solutions that would never be called addictions publicly, but are. And
Mhm.
we're seeing alcohol as an addiction. We know drugs as an addiction. You can have food addiction, sex addiction. As you said, it gets a little more mainstream rewarded and not seen as an addiction, to say over planning, certainty, success, achievement is an addiction,
Yeah.
right? That you're constantly locked on the next goal and not there for the child inside that feels like, can I just feel like a failure for a minute? Like there's all these different addictions that at one point we know to look at as a collective, but then anything past it and you're overthinking and you're airy fairy and you're ridiculous. And we're not airy fairy. You can feel truth measured in the listening much more than because you got a Harvard degree when you said it. Like, I'm tired of
Mhm.
truth being, what was in the text versus what your intuition is showing you through evidence, through release, through miracles. I mean, we're
Yeah.
finding truth for the wrong thing. It's so ironic is uh I know someone who is going inward, and I would almost say going to Jesus, but not the one that's angry at everyone. She's actually going inward and allowing Jesus to come in and help her heal her childhood religious trauma. It's almost like
I think I know who
Jesus.
you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants me to share. Is that okay? Okay, it's my wife. And 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 I don't know if she wants me to say ever, but like but she's totally fine with it. But Yeah, has a father who's a pastor, and said everything is shameful and
Mhm.
sexuality is shameful, all this different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, she's almost asking Jesus, the one that's not mad that Elvis Presley came out, the one that's not mad about the Beatles. Right? It's so funny how there's two Jesuses. There's the one that's like, you better not, you better. And then it's almost like there's the one that you can open up to heal and say, please heal me. It's amazing to think how there's one that people are opening up to let go of the control that's in like the leftists, that's in like, I control you and you better do this. And it's so interesting to be like, we had to break off into a hippie movement of the controlling, angry Jesus that uses fear and control on everything. And then there's this other one that
Mhm.
now I'm watching her open her heart to, Jesus, help me release the Jesus that was mad at me my whole childhood, that made me hate myself. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, man. I mean, I wanna dive into this a little more of like why we do this to ourselves. Why do we why do we sort of knowingly but unknowingly lie to ourselves? Because we want certainty, we want to feel safe that we're right. And I mean, this is what it means to be human, right? Is to say, I already know everything that's true. Like maybe some things I believe aren't true, but the vast majority of what I believe is definitely true, and everyone else are quacks and idiots. That's very much how the average person goes through their day, is like, I've got everything figured out.
It's
And it's
pretty
such an
amazing.
egoic pretense, right? What's that?
It's amazing to think, like,
Yeah.
the more I go, I know nothing. I know I'm
Yes.
wide open to that a million more revelations will come through. But it's
Yes.
ironic
Well,
because people trust a teacher that says I know everything more than someone that would say I don't know. But the second one's better. Like,
yeah, for sure. Definitely more trustworthy.
yeah,
What's more likely, that someone doesn't know anything or knows everything?
right. Right. I mean, and the more you don't know, the more you're open up to growing, experiencing. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just bouncing off that as a side thought, but
Yeah,
please
yeah. Well, where I'm
finish.
going with that is basically this. We all have this condition within us, and this is how, by the way, you can sort of know if someone's really doing some legitimate inner work on themselves and questioning their thoughts and stuff. Because those are the people that get labeled as conspiracy theorists, and they're not buying into the latest psyop. Take this product, believe this thing, do this passport, digital money. Like there's a certain segment of the population that just wants to feel like I'm on the right team, that's doing the right thing, and so whatever they say is what I do because it makes me feel good and certain that I'm on the good side. What's, as you've said, what's covering that up is, oh no, what if the world really is run by evil people? I don't want that reality to be true, so let me just act like it's not true and persecute anyone that thinks it is true. And this is what causes this
Yeah.
infighting that we've seen, is that some people are scared to face the unknown and the possibilities that aren't comfortable, and others are tired of accepting happy lies. So it's like there's this dichotomy in humanity right now, that we're seeing this dividing line between happy lies or harsh truths. And
Yes.
everyone's running to one side or the other. The people that have certainty addiction that they haven't dealt with are running to the side of happy lies. Government, politicians, tell us whatever we want to hear. Like, we'll believe you and we'll buy it hook, line, and sinker. Other side is the exact opposite. I don't believe a word you say. I'm not trusting anything you tell me to do. I
Right.
want the harsh truths over those happy lies. And they're willing to swallow those red pills more. And so I think this is a big catalyst on our planet right now that's only going to continue as those in power continually lose their power and it gets more decentralized through things like crypto and AI and so forth. We're going to keep seeing this dividing line of people
Yeah.
that still want to lie to themselves. And it's always a testament of how we lie to ourselves internally. So one of the things we can do, I think, to uncover what's really here that needs to be seen, is to just get to that place where you're just sick and tired of being lied to and lying to yourself, of accepting
Yeah.
lies and giving yourself your own lies to avoid what's really here that might be uncomfortable. Behind the uncomfortable is your freedom. And so by avoiding the uncomfortable to stay free, you're actually keeping yourself in bondage. You got to face the unknown. And every human being, I think, feels this fear that to be a human being in the universe is truly like staring into this endless chasm of mystery, of which we
Yeah.
have no way of really making sense out of life. And so that's pretty terrifying. I'd rather just believe that I know. Isn't that just symptomatic of what the ego does?
Yeah. That was so good. And it's interesting because I'm also playing with where is truth, meaning like you and I know what the government presents is comedically not true. I mean, we're just like, that's obvious. And so then there's this level where I'm caught in what's true, like what's true in Charlie Kirk, what's true in 9/11.
Right.
And then I noticed something that is really interesting. The Matrix, is a good example, which is also interesting because the Matrix, like his ID says expires 9/11/2001. So like, I mean, in other words, there's conspiracies within the Matrix even. But it's funny because the Matrix points out something that, when Neo sees the Matrix as it is, wouldn't it be weird if when he got out of the Matrix and, went to that part where he's getting acupuncture and then finally starting to learn karate and everything like that, what if he was there, kung fu or whatever, what if he was there and then spent a ton of energy looking back in the Matrix at conspiracy theories? Meaning like, what if he, what if he got out of the Matrix, he sees it, and instead of learning what he is and what his power is and learning through Morpheus kung fu and how to, fly a helicopter instantly, he's still back in the Matrix trying to literally tell everyone in the Matrix and prove like, I realized something
trying
like
to solve it from within it.
Right. And one of the ways they still have to keep control of us is start drip feeding some truths. And you'll notice that now you can go on Amazon Prime and there's a documentary on chemtrails. There's like stuff coming out called Cover Up on Netflix. They will lose us if they don't let us have some, right? And I went into an even crazier conspiracy where I thought, what if the Charlie Kirk thing was they did it in front of 3,000 people and it was very obvious there were so many subject things that what if they were like, let's make it obvious we did it, they'll still be mad at us and we still have their attention. Like, I mean, they knew, I mean, we figured out JFK with one camera. Like, when we have a digital thing and there's different guys looking like they're shooting him, you start to go, what if they wanted us all arguing about what happened, so we still can ourselves and go to the highest frequency, right? Like
that's the what's the term, the tricky maneuver that they're doing, right? Is that they know, hey, we've whooped up these conspiracy theorists to such an extent now that pretty much whatever we do, we can just do it in plain sight now, and there'll be 100 conspiracy theories by Monday, and everyone's going to be arguing and foaming at the mouth over them and which one's the real truth. And what you actually saw with your lying eyes is what really happened, Right. It's funny that we're at that point that the truther movement has gone to this excess where everything now is a conspiracy. Like, not that everything's a conspiracy, but we just literally refuse to believe anything we see because we know it must have been XYZ. And so I think as like a litmus test of how humble and honest you are, or how self-honest you are, I just had a friend text me this the other day. When somebody asks you a question, like my friend asked me yesterday out of the blue, he's like, hey, what's your thoughts on the moon landing? And my response was, well, I don't know, but here's my theories. I've heard really good arguments on both sides. And whether it's, did Jesus really rise from the dead, Aaron? Christians always ask me that. Do you believe Jesus resurrected? And I'm like, I know what you're asking me is, are you a heretic or not? Because if you say, no, I don't believe Jesus resurrected, they're going to say, aha, I've got you. You're a heretic. And now I can dismiss you and not have to deal with what you believe anymore. So what I say is usually, I don't know if Jesus raised from the dead because I wasn't there. So I know that Christianity makes that a big axiom of their faith. If you got to confess that you believe this event happened or you're going to hell when you die. But I'm sorry, my friend, I'm not going to lie for you and say that I know something happened that I wasn't there for. And secondly, how absurd would it be that God would predicate our eternal salvation on claiming to believe an event that happened in the past really happened that you were not there for? So you have to lie to be saved. Now, can you see that we're in a negative polarity inversion at this point? God does not want us to lie for any reason, salvation or not,
And I believe that someone who would be as powerful and magical and loving as Jesus wouldn't be so narcissistic to say the only way into heaven is to acknowledge me. It has nothing to do with your performance. It has nothing to do with you. Say I'm your savior. Like if I say that to my audience, say I'm the way, or I'll burn you forever, you would I'd be arrested. Like, and I believe very much it's more living as close to you can as Jesus. You know, I'm not saying that he's not working through. I'm saying that, you know, when I fasted recently. I did an 11-day fast. I was considering 40, but I had to day 11 and started falling over. And I was like, okay, I think that's good.
11's good. Yeah.
11 was good, and it was amazing. I was finding God. I was watching patterns that come up that are the false Kyle who wants to go get food, but he's not really hungry and he just wants to be loved at a restaurant, and that's a false Kyle. And the more I did
Yeah.
fasting, which also Jesus did, right, the
Oh, yeah.
closer I felt to God. And this was a very obvious thing to me. And it was interesting. You would love to know, when I came out of it, I still eat eggs, but I felt much closer to plant-based food. I,
Interesting.
I'm not saying I'm full on vegan. I'm not because of eggs, and that I wouldn't ever eat meat again. But
I'm not either.
yeah, I just felt like I was just getting this lighter food from salad and just craving much less heaviness and much less
Higher vibrational food. Yeah.
and I get that certain people might, I mean, I at one point went 90-day raw vegan and it changed my life. Then I tried to do it again 4 years later and it didn't. So I almost felt like God was going, I want you not to be attached to a way. I want you to just find a new thing that you're in a new grade and I want you to learn something new now. So it was never like about a full on way, but I do think there's something, at least where I am now, that like goes, oh, and it might've been you that said this to me. Veggies are literally, if they're organic and good, they're the sun, right? Like
Fruit. Yeah.
fruit and veggies.
Veggies too, but
Yeah.
fruit more so because it has the sugar in it. And the sugar is the sort of crystallized sunlight through
Yeah.
photosynthesis.
Yeah. And I just feel like that would make just logical sense that God wants me to have more of that. And when I came out of the fast and was at the closest I felt to the God me, I was only craving that. I'd go to like really good restaurants and just get the lightest salad and want like probably 1/10 of the calories that I usually used to eat. So it was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm similarly, very naturally, not like in a forced way, kind of working towards eating a diet that only consists of fruit, vegetables, and sourdough bread or whole wheat bread. Maybe some starches every so often, rice or potatoes. But yeah, like I used to rely heavily on milk and eggs when I made the transition off meat
Mhm.
years ago. And now
Yeah.
I just find I just don't eat them anymore and I don't desire to eat them. And it happened completely by itself, kind of like it did with meat. So it's like as we raise our consciousness, I think we do just naturally desire lighter, higher vibrational foods. Because look, this body is your vehicle for your consciousness. If you're trying to raise your consciousness, but weighing down the vehicle becomes a little bit counterintuitive.
Right.
But I wanted to circle back really quick
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Sorry to go on a
the
tangent.
idea of we were talking about the kind of like wedding proposal to the bride's temple with a gun to the bride's temple that Christianity presents of you got to confess this or you burn. It's like, well, now you've completely taken away free will, right? This is the idea.
Oh, that's
You
such a
can't
good
say,
point. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
not
like,
free will if you're going, if you believe the threat of hell is there, like,
yeah.
like,
Well, but that's what they'll say, though, right? Is Christianity as a religion says the reason that God has made this predicament that heaven or hell and you have one life to get it all right is because God needs your free will. I say, well, then this is the worst possible universe God could have ever created if God wanted our free will choice. Because if you put a gun to someone's head and say, marry me or I'll blow your brains out, but you have free will, you can say no. I'm not making you say yes. This is what the negative polarity does. It's manipulation. It is not free will if you put someone under threat or duress. That's called blackmail. So God would not blackmail us into confessing Jesus as Lord like a
of
a
course.
groom putting a gun to the bride's temple.
Well, yeah,
So
if
I
I
want
go into someone's house with a gun and say, give me all your money, and then they give it to me, and I go, look, they free will gave it to me.
thanks for your free will gift. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that is such
crazy.
an obvious point. Like, yeah, you can't, if you put a gun to anyone, you can get them to do anything, right? So if God has got the constant burn forever, which on its own, I don't understand how there'd be new burning after a while. Like
Yeah.
when you run
That's a
out,
whole nother fallacy.
does it
What's
also,
burning? Yeah.
don't you acclimate? Is it less hot after a few days? You're just like, ow. Like
I've
just,
gotten kind of used to it.
yeah, like, or is it the same tent screaming 100 years later? and just
Maybe after like a few thousand years, it's kind of like a warm jacuzzi now, and you're more
yeah,
chill with it.
like Hitler
But in
now
any
is like
case,
back. I remember Louis C.K. goes, could you imagine like a kid lies about a crayon or something like that and then goes to
yeah,
hell and Hitler's his roommate? Like he goes, the kid that like lied to his parents about eating a cookie, does he go to hell and Hitler's his roommate? Like, is it the same level
like
of
they go to the
hell,
same place.
or it's a one day hell? Like
Yeah,
there's a lot there to unpack too. And I think what we're doing, and I'm sure we'll get stuff for being irreverent to this, but I will say we are pointing out something that deep down in everyone's soul makes total sense. Like your soul, and that's why another reason I think the people in that world are so angry, controlling, and stressing is because there's not logic in your soul about what you have to become in order to not go to hell. So they're literally living against their soul. And one thing I know is that people who find other people who live freer than they do are very triggered, right? Like,
oh
so
yeah,
when people hear other people live freer than them, they're very, very, very mad. And so people, they're angry at people who live freer. In fact, here's a great example. I learned, and I don't know the level of truth on this, but I heard that 95% of gay porn is downloaded in the Bible Belt. Like the areas that are the most
whoa.
anti-gay. Yeah.
Is that true? We got to fact check that, guys.
Yeah, I've heard that through a couple of things, but I have no
That
idea if
would be
it's
wild if it's true.
right.
Because I think it could be true, but like that'd be a crazy stat.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird because I'm truly not gay, so it's not something I'm triggered by. It's just not a
How
thing.
did you find out about this, Kyle?
Yeah. Well, here's a funny thing I do at my live events one time. I said to the audience once, I said, I'm going to ask you a question. I said, name something that really triggers you about a person. And someone said, when they chew with their mouth open. And another person said, when they're late. Someone said, when they exaggerate. People listed about 8 things like this. And I said, isn't it weird that nobody said murderer? I said, all of you seem to be fine with a murderer as long as they're not exaggerating about it and they chew with their mouth closed. And I said, the reason is because you guys aren't murderers. So you're not triggered by things that you're not in the same world as, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, people were way more, I believe people were more triggered personally by Tiger Woods than they were OJ Simpson, because Tiger Woods was cheating, which a lot more people have either had done to them or thought about. And so like people are triggered by their thing, right? And so, when people literally live in the control, angry way of the Bible, they are so mad about anyone who lives freer than that or is less controlling or
Yeah, and I understand why.
Yeah, but
I
that's
would be
also
too, and I was.
to believe that exact level of controlling thing, you literally have to disconnect from your own soul and make a mental thing that makes sense in that way. And enough people have collectively agreed to it that a bunch of people have disconnected from God in the name of connecting to God.
Yeah. Well, this is such a great point. This is another reason why it's just a certainty addiction, not a genuine, heartfelt belief arrived at through self-inquiry and reflection. It's just a certainty addiction disguised as religion, because give me a break. You really believe everybody who doesn't believe like you will go to hell? Your mom, your dad, your cousin, all the good, nice people you've met, your friends. If you really believe that, and I mean, you believe it like I'm looking through my window and I see a guy in the a dark suit or whatever, shows up with a briefcase, takes out a bomb and like puts the wires in and puts it on my neighbor's front doorstep, right? And then runs into the car and they speed off, right? So I just watched this happen. So I know that this guy just planted a bomb. What's my reaction going to be? I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to run over there and bang on their door. I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to do everything I can to get those people out of that house. And
Right.
Kyle, they're just going to blow up in 2 seconds and be gone. They're not going to suffer in hell forever. How much less extreme is that? A bomb on someone's front door or at a mall or something. If you knew that was what was going to happen, you would be running down the mall strip, screaming at everybody, get out of here. It's going to blow. Even if people persecuted you for it, get this crazy guy out of here. You would not judge them for it. You're like, of course they think I'm crazy. This is an extreme situation. You'd have compassion for the people who don't believe in you. That would be your actual response to a genuine threat to everyone else. So the fact that people say they believe that something infinitely worse than that is going to happen to everybody, that doesn't, you would not be able to psychologically withstand such a reality. So to say you believe that is ultimately you are lying to yourself. You could not live in a universe like that. And
Yes.
why are you lying to yourself? Because you just want to know what I believe is true. I'm safe. I'm right. And that is, again, symptomatic of this conversation today. Merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost. The cost is going to be those certainties, right? The needing to know, the needing to be right, wanting to avoid feeling certain things. And all of us are doing that to ourselves in ways, right? Like you gave the analogy of, well, I got to start a successful business and be a millionaire, and then I'll truly be happy. So that's actually this going on in your
Yeah.
subconscious mind. Your ego is saying, you better become a millionaire or else you're going to be a loser. No one will like you. You'll never be in a relationship. So, oh no, I can't have that bad reality. So I got to be a millionaire. And really, it's actually coming from a lot of fear of what's the alternative to not being a millionaire. As you said, it's the fear that's the primary driver here. And so it doesn't mean you shouldn't want to become the millionaire, but it's like requalify your intention. Make sure that whatever you're doing is not motivated by fear. Because if it is, the ego's already hijacking the process.
Yes. That's so good. It's so interesting to discover how much, even with the positive thinking, is actually negative driving it, meaning the fear is driving it. Like, oh man, we're going to be so successful is on top of a bed so that my dad doesn't say, I told you so, go get a real job. Like every single thing is a subconscious fear. And I think that I've just decided I'm in the business of healing that out and letting external mirror that. Like instead of controlling external and you know, getting circumstances the right way, it's like the only goal I have is continually listen deeper and deeper and deeper every day through deep meditation, through walks, through listening, through letting go of distractions, and bringing a false me that was here through trauma, through abandonment, through dad hitting him at times, through mom saying, well, we'll see if it becomes something. These things all are stuck in the subconscious, but every moment I listen deeper and deeper, they break apart. And every time they break apart, something miraculous happens. Some miracle happens. I realize all a miracle is something that totally logically can happen, but is beyond what the ego made sense of. The ego thinks from such a limitation. Miracles
Of Course in Miracles says that.
Yeah. Oh, do they? I didn't know they say it that
yeah.
way. But like, yeah, a miracle's a normal. I mean, I know it says if a miracle's normal and if it doesn't happen, something's wrong. But it's really just saying, you know, all I'm saying is your ego doesn't believe certain things can happen. So when it does, it doesn't believe it. It'll dismiss it. In fact, it's probably seeing miracles all day and saying that's BS or a scam or whatever. But like that as you dissolve that false self, that false from egoic logic, and start listening intuitively, miracles just become a normal thing. And usually every single thing that you egoically wanted comes back tenfold anyway, but just without your effort. It's just the mirror that you release that effort and that you're aligned with source now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why we have to love those parts of us, because they're not ultimately real. They're not what we are. And so by fighting them as enemies, we're making them real. We're giving them reality. By feeling guilty about them, we're giving them life and reality that they don't actually have. And so love is that neutralizing force that goes in and says, wait, let's bring it all into the light. Come on, my friends, come out of the shadows, come into the light with me. And these little ugly identities crawl out of their shadows and like, don't look, I'm hideous. You'll never love me. And love is like, come here, sweetheart, I'll love you. And then as soon as it steps into the light, you can almost imagine like the beam of light and the shadow identity steps through. And as soon as it touches the light, nothing appears on the other side. You know what I mean? Like the shadow just dissolves into the light, and then nothing was actually there. It was just a mental construct that you had built and kept feeding by avoiding it, your certainty addictions, all the stuff we're talking about today. This is why we have to love our shadows, because if we don't love them, we're giving them life and reality in our mind. And so we are the creators. We're the reality giver. It'll stay alive as long as I keep it alive by believing in it. So it's like, you want to bring that thing into the light.
and the only thing that actually keeps that darkness alive is that it's not seen. That's literally it.
Yes.
And it's just that you didn't see it. So it's
Yeah.
always in a box that turns out to be empty, but you have to see it first. And so it's like seeing how a magician does a trick and then watching the magic show. It doesn't have any power now. And the everything that's going on in the world that's darkness requires not being seen. And our light is so collectively bright now that the egoic powers that used to be don't have any ability to control us anymore, because our light keeps magnifying exponentially every day now. And so our light internally is also our light externally, and the light is too bright for deception to be able to be pulled off anymore, for manipulation, control, and even the time of control. If you follow David Hawkins, and just if I were to jump on that, I'd say that we are in a time where control doesn't work. It's just, you are in full surrender now, and you can maybe have a couple more months of attempting to control something, but it'll still not work. And so you start to go, okay, the only way I move forward is surrender now, because control wasn't the truth anyway. It was the me that was separate from God that was doing the doing. So the one that was in control was a me that does it without God anyway. The one who goes, I'm going to build the 7-figure business, is the godless you, is the one who egoically knows how to do it. So God's dissolving that one, and it'll turn out your life will be fine. And you'll actually not have that certainty addiction of the future too. That we lived in the past just always knowing our future, that we were wrong about, by the way. Your certainty about the future is wrong. And so when we lose our ability to go to the future, we become here. And this here loses timelines left and right, because there's no timeline anymore. So this here you is just going to go up in vibration, and 3 days from now, life will just be totally different. So you don't need a certainty addiction to what's going to happen next week, because the you now will be so different when that day comes anyway. So this is good, man. It's fun to be interviewed by someone who's the real stuff, man. I love it.
Well, I love what you're saying too. And we're going to go to questions now, by the way, guys. So feel free to put some questions in the chat for Kyle and myself. But I love what you're saying here about this whole idea of coming from soul rather than ego, or Christ rather than ego, whatever words you want to use for it. The true self versus the false self. The false self always comes from fear, and the true self always comes from love. And so love looks like excitement. Love looks like passion and enthusiasm to do something. So if you want to start that 7-figure business, great. Make sure you're doing it purely because it's a joy for you. It's truly like your highest excitement. Because here's what happens when you do, is that when you come from joy and passion, all the things you need, the right videos to watch, people, connections, network opportunities, learning, education. This has been my experience, Kyle. It literally just flows to you, doesn't it?
Immediately.
Everything you need just comes to you when you become the magnet for it. Like, I'm so passionate. The universe just brings you everything you need, because you're a radiating particle, right? You're magnetic at that point. And so we want to get as polarized as possible in love and service and truth and joy and passion, because these things are magnetic to the universe. But when we come from fear and a need to be right, we're repelling those forces away. And as you said, it's the godless you that's like, get out of the way, God. I'm going to find the right videos to watch. I'm going to use this tool and that tool, and I'm going to get it done. I'm going to grind every day until I get my 7-figure business. And the universe is like, okay, man, you can do that by yourself. But everything you try to do on your own always resorts in failure, because you can't make the separate self happy. You can't appease an ego that doesn't really exist. So you have to see its unreality in order to step away from it. As you said, it's literally just the not seeing it that keeps it alive. And that might be hard for some people listening to really grasp. It's like, come on, Kyle, that's too simplistic. It doesn't just live because you don't see it.
It's so simple. Ego is so complicated. God, we hate how simple this is, because we want to feel like we earned something and control something. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it is so unbelievably simple, right? it is so unbelievably simple what we're talking about.
It
In fact,
is.
it's more simple than we've probably even reached, right? Like and it's funny because if you think about it, almost every spiritual, really good book, every Hawkins, every Eckhart, everything is one simple message. You and I are a part of like 1,000 people making the same point through tons of videos and like, but one point, right? Like, and so it is so simple. And the ego goes, no, it needs to be a giant project that I overcome, that I figure out. And so I love what you're saying. And yes, people go, it's too simplistic. I'm like, it's even simpler than that.
I know, that's the real problem, is it's so simple. It's almost going to infuriate you when you figure it out.
Yeah. You're just going to be, oh, that was it the whole time.
Yeah. I wanted complexity, darn it.
Yeah.
So this is a question from Crystal Nethery. Says, what's the most tangible and real way we can begin to release the addiction to control and certainty? You have any practical tips on that, Kyle?
Yeah, I do. There's a few things I'd say here. What a great question. The first thing is stop picking it up, right? So one thing, that there's a way that people let go of stuff, but they're picking it up a lot. I've used this example before, but I have a pair of glasses here, and imagine if I was like, I got to let go of these, and I'm like, these things right here. I have these glasses. Now picture
gotta
me
let
like,
them go.
I gotta let them go right here. These ones. This old relationship, this problem I have, this pattern I have, I got to let go of this one, everybody. This one, therapist for 7 years. I got to let go of this, right? And so one of the things I want to offer is that Crystal already knows there is an addiction to control and certainty. So Eckhart would tell you, and I would too, that awareness of that is already showing something. You already see, the second you see it, it's now not you. It just became a pattern. It's you until you see it, right? And then when you see it, you're like, oh, that never really was me, but that was the me that didn't know I had an addiction to control and certainty. So first of all, we celebrate, Crystal, that your awareness is already higher, and that and what I'm here doing is bringing even more awareness to your awareness to say, getting you to know that that's not you, right? You maybe knew, but didn't know that you knew. And now let's go to, I know, and I know that I know. Another thing I would offer is to move towards something true. In other words, if that isn't you, you must be more than now. Infinite possibility, love, peace, right? So we want to replace what you're letting go of with more of what you are. And so you are all that is. You are here. You are freedom. You are love. You are acceptance. You are the one who sees. You are the observer, right? So that's another way that it can start to fall apart, when you start to see it come up and I need this control, and you're literally from this energy going, I love you, you're not me. I hear you. And we also, a way to get rid of it too, in a way, is to not try to get rid of it, but appreciate it, because we have to understand that the addiction to control and certainty actually came from what you had to do in childhood to protect yourself, because you had parents with egos. So when you have parents that had even heavier egos in most cases, because back then we're more unconscious. So your parents had deeper egos usually. They probably aren't willing to do the work that we're doing right here, right? So when you have parents that have a big ego, you have to let go of the light that you are for a second for survival, and become whatever you have to do for control, for, certainty, so that you don't get spanked, yelled at, hit, abandoned, shamed, whatever in childhood. So we want to thank the ego that protected you. I was actually doing a talk yesterday about something that I realized was a really profound thing for me. Aaron, did you ever see the original Pete's Dragon in 1970? It was a Disney movie in the 70s, but it was out during the 80s.
I think I have, yes, when I was really young.
So Pete's Dragon and E.T. and many movies have this character that comes in and kind of saves the kid and then leaves at the end forever. And I realized that the dragon, and the first movie I saw was Pete's Dragon. At the end of the movie, I'm bawling my eyes out because the dragon that saved the boy has to go away forever. And I realized, because the boy can take over now. The ego is like the dragon, the child you, the E.T. character that goes away forever, the Harry and the Hendersons character, the Splash, the girl in Splash leaves but tells Tom Hanks she can come with him, but he can't ever come back. That's the egoic one that you actually needed to save you up until now. So your addiction to certainty and your addiction to control was necessary to protect you because you didn't know what you know now. And as we grow, we get closer to God and we need less of these egoic constructs. So you can
Yeah.
also tell it, instead of trying to get over it right away, tell it thank you. Let it sit on your lap for a while. Like you can kind of become the loving parent or the hospice care center for that egoic construct that's ready to die because it's ready to go because it's no longer useful. But maybe you need a few more days of thanking it and walking with it and letting that egoic control be here. But you just thank it because it protected you up until now and it's getting ready to go. And just know that it will go as your awareness keeps growing.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I love what you said at the beginning about seeing it. Just the seeing of it, acknowledging it means that's not you. That's not the real you. If you're seeing it, it's so true because you just logically, right? If there is a true self, if anyone on this call listening to this live stream right now believes there is a true divine self at the core of what I am, if that's true, then there's only a true self or a false self, right? There's really just kind of two options. You're in the true self or you're not. There is
Right.
no mixture of like, I'm kind of in the true self, kind of not. Truth and falsity don't mix, they cancel each other out. So if you are aware of an egoic pattern, let's call it the Christ self, because that's the theme of the summit, right? Christ, ego. These are the only two options. Really, this is the only option, but you still think you're a separate self. So it's kind of still an option and you're playing around. I'm this person named Aaron. I have all these desires. Well, once you start becoming aware of that person and his desires and failures and all these things, you must be looking from the Christ position.
Yes.
The ego can't see itself. It's too close
Yes.
to itself. It is itself. So who's the you that's aware of all these patterns? It really is true to say the seeing of it is what begins to dissolve it, right?
Yes, that's huge. What you just said is perfect. Like you see it. So what saw it? What must you be if you see it? If you aren't
Yeah,
that thing,
what saw it?
right. And if you aren't that, then what must you be? Like, in fact, we could ask Crystal that question. What must you be then? Like we might not know all the way, but you're closer to it. And something broke apart and saw it. And you know, if you see who the bad guy is once, you know it. You can't unsee it, right? So
Right.
it's already, you're free right there. So
Yeah.
it might dance around a little longer and you might kick in a couple more, okay, I'll do this so I have certainty, and you'll feel exhausted because it won't be the true you. In other words, if you act from the pattern now, you might be really exhausted because you are somewhat aware that isn't you. So when you act in honor of the false self, the more and more you see it's a false self, the more disconnected from your true self you are, and the more you just feel exhausted or get sick. So allow it to keep saying what it wants, but not be the one that runs the show, and you be the observer of that.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're being driven by unconscious attachments and all these things from the ego. And so I think another hallmark sign of real spiritual evolution taking place and like someone making that transition from the ego to the Christ self is that your own life, your own internal world, your personal world, all your desires and fears will become as exhausting and disinteresting to you as
Yes.
like a relationship that you should have left 4 months ago. And you're just like, when am I going to break up with this person? Like no part of you wants to be in the relationship or the job. It's like, I hate working this job. Every day I wake up, I do not want to go to work, but I make myself do it. I'm just withering my soul away every day at this job. Believe it or not, your own ego can start to feel like that to you. And that's a huge blessing and a huge sign of progress, because what it forces is you to step more and more away from those things, because you find, you know, what I want is not an outcome. There
Right.
actually is no outcome that I really want. What I really want, if I'm serious with myself, is a peaceful state of being in this moment. So for me, Crystal, that's another big practical tip, is continually remind yourself what I want is not an outcome or certainty or being right. I don't want anything in this life really other than a happy, harmonious state of being in this moment. And so
Yes.
how many of us, Kyle, have had the experience of being in a situation or an environment that would normally be uncomfortable to us? Like maybe people are fighting or something. And for whatever reason, you're just like in a great mood. and you're happy and you're grounded, you're kind of seeing everything from your good mood. You're like, oh, they're just, a little flustered. It's all good. And you're not freaking out. Other people are nervous and freaking out, tense
Right.
environment, and you're just like chilling, right? That's a great example of how your state of being is all that really matters. The outcomes in your life only matter so much as they force different states of being. And so if you can be in any moment with a harmonious, peaceful state of being, then you're good. You have what you want, right? We know this is true. And so we just have to break this pattern of going to certainties, chasing outcomes, wanting what the ego wants. We see it from the Christ nature and just say, oh, what I want is not an outcome. What I want is peace of mind in this moment. And as you've said, Kyle, that just requires you to open up and accept whatever is here in this moment.
That's so good. The only thing I want is to get closer every day and to know the truth of what I am. It's just a constant chiseling at what I'm not. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So one addition to Crystal's thing is like, Amber, my wife will tell you, I have this very, very interesting thing where when I find a pattern, if I feel off or I find a trigger, it's bizarre because you'd think I'd be all pissed, but I also get really excited. So every time I finally identify a problem, I'm like, oh my God, like, think about this. Like, what have I pulled off with this pattern here? Like, what cool things have I done with this pattern? Right.
Yeah.
So every time I find a pattern, I'm like, I can't fathom what I will be or experience or know without the pattern. So every time I identify a pattern, I am really excited. So it's funny because I
love that.
Yes, but I'm oh shit, like I'm so pumped while I'm pissed. I hope I can say God.
I'm pumped and pissed.
But I hope, is it okay if I say God? Like a sentence I said like 5 minutes ago.
Is God okay?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's not a bad state of being, pumped and pissed, But
yeah,
I love this analogy, Kyle. It's like a Christmas present. When we were kids, you get up on Christmas morning or, all throughout the weeks leading up to Christmas, you're looking at those gifts under the tree. And which ones do you typically get most excited about as a kid? The biggest ones, right? And you're imagining, well, look at that big box in the back corner. Man, I wonder what's in there. And you can't wait to open that gift on Christmas morning. Our patterns, our traumas, our triggers are like that. When we become evolved enough, the bigger the trigger is, it will still feel just as big in that moment. But then another part of you, the real you, the Christ, rises up alongside it to say, wow, if this trigger is so big, then what must be hiding within it? There must be a whole lot of light ready to break through. And you actually do feel stoked that you've seen this new part of it. Wow, I didn't know I could get triggered like that. My wife and I were just talking about this the other day. She went on a trip without me with Aria, and it was just a nightmare for her from start to finish. Nobody was like helping her. She had to do everything by herself, carrying stuff up and down flights of stairs with Aria. And she just started to get more and more frustrated. Like, why is nobody helping me? And she got to this moment of like extreme anger coming up, and it shocked her. And she was like, man, I didn't think, like, I've like never seen her angry in our relationship, like truly angry, losing your mind type of anger. Never seen her in that state. And she said she sort of got to that state and she was like, I had no idea I could still get this angry. And I'm like, isn't that great that life showed you that there's still a remnant of that in you? And so that means there's still a whole lot more light there waiting to be unlocked. And that's a good way to requalify your triggers.
That's beautiful, man. When I work with people, there are certain times where I'll have them say, to the pattern, you're allowed to be not enough in my body. You're allowed to be unloved in my body. Sometimes I'll get one where I can see what theirs is. And I'll say you're allowed to be a failure in my body. And sometimes they'll go, ooh, I feel like I can't. Like they can feel it's a really big one. Like that's never been allowed. And the more they go, I can't say that, the more I know it'll be the biggest release that'll get the most light. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so I get really excited when they're like, I don't even know if I can say that,
Like, oh, we found it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the enormous boulder rock in the mud that will change your life when you say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen, dude.
Yeah.
Katie McCarthy says, how should I bring up the conversation with someone who does have a certainty addiction, particularly a Christian?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a unavoidable catalyst for most, if not all of us, right? That we have family members, friends. We live in a Judeo-Christian world. So it might not even be a Christian. Maybe it's a Muslim, a Jew, Hindu, I don't know, but somebody who has a religious certainty addiction.
Yeah.
What I can say first, Kyle, before I pitch to you is that the first thing you should do is what Jesus said to do when he said, agree with your adversary quickly. Finding where you can agree with somebody who has a certainty addiction is very helpful because it validates the part of them that needs to feel heard and to feel that they're right. And so you're saying, yeah, like there's ways I agree with that. So I'm not invalidating your perspective. That's what they're hearing. I don't think you're wrong. Here's another way of looking at it. And so validating what you do agree with first and then asking questions. I think, Kyle, let me know if you agree, man, but when someone has an impenetrable wall of certainty addiction and religious biases and stuff, you're not going to get through to them by telling them what's true. It will never, ever work. You've got to use a Trojan horse method to get in there, right? Which is a nice, juicy question that you want them to chew on. You can sow seeds with people, man. I've done this so many times with Christian friends and stuff, and they come back like a year later, 5 years later. Someone's like, hey, we had this conversation 5 years ago, and you asked me this question, and I wrote it off. And I know the answer to that. And then I couldn't get it out of my head. I just kept thinking like, that's, but what if this, what if that? And that question eventually forced an awakening in me. And I started to deconstruct from religion itself. So it's like, we don't know the timetable somebody's on and how many bricks need to be taken out of their wall before it comes down, but that's not our job. That's God's job. Jesus said, just be like a farmer sowing seeds. You're just casting seeds wherever you go. And some falls on good, some falls on bad soil, but that's up to God. You're just the farmer who sows the seeds. And I think a true seed sometimes is to tell people, you're not separate from God or whatever the thing is you're debating. But like the vast majority of the time, that's not going to be the most effective route in my perspective, because the ego doesn't want to feel wrong. And the moment it feels wrong or it's being told something, it's going to shut down. And so a question is very inviting, like a Trojan horse, because everyone wants to answer a good question, right? Everyone wants to give their take on a question. So even if they give you the normal blathering Christian pat answers, it doesn't matter, right? You've already sown the seed by getting them to start thinking about something differently. That's my perspective.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. One time I really remember thinking how I would try to convince someone of something. And then I realized if someone I truly feel intuitively is in an addictive certainty-based control state, the more I ask questions, like the more you're right in that, the more let them talk, because if they're in that place of control, they'll start to question themselves in that. But it's interesting because I love your answer. I have a whole different take too. I believe in certain ways, and I want to make sure this doesn't sound like in a condescending way or better than way, but I believe the more you're doing this inner work, the more you go from caterpillar to butterfly. And the differences are, in my opinion, caterpillar is all about circumstance. It's about, how it's seen. It's about control. And butterfly, and a literal caterpillar, by the way, consumes a huge amount. Like a caterpillar that is an actual caterpillar, I can't remember, but consumes like 2,000 times its weight or something every day. And a butterfly barely consumes. It's just flying and being beautiful and kind of self-guided and on its own. The last addiction of the butterfly and the last test of the butterfly is trying to convince a caterpillar to become a butterfly. Like, I really believe that this flight is between the butterfly and God. And when a butterfly is stuck trying to convince someone that they can do this, that's the last. It's like, because we got to go through that cocoon of loneliness, and that it's down to you and God, and then you will fly and be magical. So instead of trying to convince a certainty-based, addiction-based Christian that they could be freer, free yourself, right? You're still enslaved to their certainty, and your remaining certainty is their freedom. Like, when they're finally free, I'm free. And this is a curse that has been on empaths forever. Empaths believe I'm in so much service to others, but I'm not myself truly. I will be there for everyone else. I'm going to be an empath to every narcissistic person, every block person, every certainty-based person. And they're enslaved to that. And empaths are, I believe you've talked about this before too, but empaths believe they're in service to others, but they're actually doing it from fear. So it's service to self. And so when empaths finally let go of their big addiction of convincing everyone else they should be free, then the empath can finally fly, because they're not picking up the certainty-based addiction. And so I would offer to let the certainty addiction based person be themselves, and you go fly and become a non-deniable example of what you are, and
Yeah.
not want to convince someone who's in certainty. No one has ever, I believe no one has shifted based on
It's
someone
never happened.
convincing them to shift. Like, that's not how they
Yeah.
shift. In fact, even you could take me, I was a stand-up comic for a long time. I had major headlining career, Comedy Central career. If you showed the 24-year-old me what I would become at 48, the 24-year-old me would be like, what happened? Like, what went wrong? Like, like the 24-year-old me would have thought I would be doing stadiums as a comic, not helping
Yeah.
women go through their feelings. And so I say that because there's an unfolding that had to happen, and my need to convince everyone of anything was in the way of my growth. And I actually had a way I was going to link those two things that I don't remember, but I want Katie to know that your freedom will eventually, I know what it is. When I was in my 20s, I and all my peers would have made fun of what I became. But eventually I became this. And then people that used to make fun of me now had come to me and said, what did you change? Like, you really embodied the change and actually have a different life and career and are healing things. And there were, when I started doing this, the comics in my field were laughing at me. In fact, that's one of the reasons I left. I had an insight and wanted to show comedians that they could be this, and they were some of the most cynical people in the world. And when I finally said, okay, goodbye, I'm going to go be it, many of those comics came back and said, I want to learn from what you have, but I had to go be it first. So if I'm convincing people for a while, it's just like, there's no convincing that'll do it. But when you start to embody it, there will be a whole other world of people that will say, show me what you have. And there's a good chance that this certainty-based addiction Christian will want to be that their whole life. And Katie, this is about you having your life and letting them have theirs, and then surrounding yourself with the people that do want to know what you have. There's a whole other audience on the other side, and whole other friends that are wide open. That, instead of convincing people to become something they're not, just become more of what you are and see who aligns. It'll be much better.
Yes. Yeah. So much of what is communicated between one person to another is the subconscious information. And so the best thing you can ever do with anyone that's in this kind of state is to have something they're looking for in your own energy field. To have a state of being that they would want to have is the greatest tool you have in your arsenal, way more so than your words, to convince them. Because we all know how it feels when someone's talking to us and we can sense that they have a desire to convert us to believe like them. We sniff it out right away. Even the most unself-aware person can still detect that at some level. And so you're instantly putting up the ego's armor. So the passive, almost non-interested approach of like, I'm not actually in a rush at all to tell you what I believe. In fact, I'll never tell you what I believe until you ask me. And I'm just open and curious and I ask questions, but they cannot deny the love they feel from you, the light that is behind your eyes, just giving them the space and attention to listen. That is the greatest message you can send, because it rattles the cognitive dissonance of a religious mind that says, everyone who doesn't believe what I believe is evil and going to hell. And then they meet this person who's extremely loving and Christ-like, being of service, listening, likable, and it just destroys all their notions of, the religious dichotomies they invent. And so then they're actually way more open and curious about you, and they probably will want to ask you questions about what you believe. And that's the real way to do it. This is how it sort of happened with my parents. Is common question I get on almost every interview. How did your parents deal with this transition out of religion, Aaron? Because your parents were pastors and stuff. And the short answer is I made no attempt to ever have a conversation with my dad or my mom about anything that I was deconstructing from or believing in any way. I knew that was not going to be a good idea because it would end up in a debate. And I, more than anything, love my parents and never want to risk losing relationship with them. And it was more so my dad than my mom who had like issues with my deconstruction. But nonetheless, 6-7 years later, after being very against the things I'm teaching on YouTube and stuff, my dad told me that his heart was open to the messages I was sharing because he saw the change in me, that I had become way less, insecure and shy and all these things I was as a Christian. I was way more authentic, way more authentically loving and compassionate. And he couldn't deny the Christ likeness he was seeing from me. And so he thought, my son can't possibly be going down a road of evil. He's becoming more Christ-like. And so he said, I started watching your YouTube again to like see what is he really talking about. And he started to hear my message in a deeper place, and his heart was open to it. And he said, I think it was within just a few months' time, he was like fully on board with like all the topics I was teaching about biblical inerrancy, hell, the rapture. He was like, yeah, I don't believe any of that stuff either. Just like that, without a single conversation of me trying to convert him, was just, I showed up authentically as I was, and I had something that he was either looking for or enjoyed seeing, and that's what created the opening. So that's, to your point, Kyle, that's all we can ever really do is be the solution. And then from that place, I think powerful questions is a good idea. But yeah, don't spend your life trying to convert people. Don't spend your life as a butterfly trying to wake up caterpillars to get in their cocoon or something. They'll get in on their own time.
Right.
A lot of them have a lot more eating to do still, right?
Yeah, boy, I love what you just shared. I mean, that really is. And what if on a metaphysical thing, you were, if you enter I have no idea what you think of this stuff, but like if you entered a parallel reality, like the Bashar kind of teaching of like changing universes and stuff like that. Like, what if you went to a world where it was mirrored to you that your dad was suddenly freer because it mirrored your freeness? Like the world had to mirror you.
Yeah.
And when if you were trying to convince your dad over and over, you'd get the mirror of that if you looked at a literal mirror, you're dragging your dad into the mirror, into the actual mirror. And it's just like, I can't change because the mirror is me convincing dad to change. And, one of the other things we could tell, I think it was Kathy, that the more you go into your freedom, that you might go through a phase too of if they're certainty addicts and you're at a vibration past them, they might never ask you. That also can happen, that you might go to a field where to ask you a question would break their certainty, and that would be death to them in their mind. So it would be death to them to be wrong. If you're certainty addicts, you can't be wrong. So you would suddenly be a challenge to what they believed. So they have to be okay being wrong also. So, allow yourself to risk that you'll always be wrong to them. Like that'd be spiritual growth too, right? To be like, it's fine with me if no one agrees with me. I asked a guy on a call yesterday, I said, if you had the choice of everyone likes you and you're still exactly you, or nobody likes you, but you feel the love of God and you completely love you directly, what would you pick? And I want to know the truth. And even if you go through the risk of nobody likes you, but you actually feel the true love of God through you, it's worth it. So one of the things it might be doing for Kathy on the way to her journey is to let herself give up the need to be understood by people that might never have that. So we might have to say to Kathy to say out loud in regards to that relationship, it's okay if they never understand me. It's okay if they never get me. It's okay if my Christian friend ever agrees with me. They're allowed to imagine, I'm allowed to disappoint people. I'm allowed to not be understood by people. I'm allowed to be who I truly am. That would hit a bunch of patterns that she might be holding. So that might be the gift of that certainty-based Christian friend, is like, they're here to help you heal the one that needs to be understood by certainty freaks. Right. And
certainty freaks.
Yeah. I don't mean it judgmental. I just mean like
there's a certainty freak in all of us, bro.
Totally. The empath is the certainty freak is there. Everyone else is wrong. The empath says, I hope no one thinks I'm wrong.
Yes.
Right.
Facts. We'll go ahead and end with this one, Kyle. McBuckets 5457. McBuckets asks,
that was because there was already 5,456 McBuckets already taken.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to get the next one.
Why do we choose to learn the hard way instead of the easy way? My answer to this, Kyle, is that there is only the hard way. And I really do believe that now. And I probably would have told you something different 5 or 6 years ago. But from my own journey, I've realized, man, life really is contrast. Like God really can't know itself without the opposite, the polarity of that experience, because nothing can be known without an opposite, right? That's what the law of polarity says.
Yeah.
So if we are perfect beings in our true essence, the Christ in us is perfect, then we can only learn about it through the ignorance of the Christ. And so the response I give to this, Kyle, is pretty simple. It's like, you can only learn the hard way. The only variable in this is how many times do you need to learn the hard way, but not if you have to learn the hard way. There is only the hard way, meaning life experience, right? Life is going to have to hit you in the face with that challenge at some point and see if a better version of you, a more evolved, love-filled version of you can come out or not. And you'll keep repeating that catalyst until it does. So you never lose the game, you just keep playing it. But there is only the hard way. That's the game we're playing. And so how many times do I have to learn the hard way is the real question, meaning let me make sure that when I face a hard challenge in life, that I learn that freaking lesson, man, that I receive what life is asking me to receive, that I learn what life is asking me to learn. Because if I don't, I got to go around the hard way again. And so let's just minimize how many times I think we have to learn the hard way.
Yes.
Not if we can avoid lessons and just learn them an easy way. It's like, look, you can watch all the videos you want, man. You can read all the books you want, but you'll never really know what self-love is until life makes you learn it through challenging circumstances and interpersonal relationship struggles. And then you're like, oh, now I got to put all that book knowledge to work. And that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ego doesn't go down without a fight. The ego always makes it hard on you to become the Christ because it doesn't want you to be the Christ. It wants you to be the ego with it. So that's my response. What's yours?
What a great response, Aaron. I would add this, like, the reason you have to learn the hard way is who's the one that's learning? A false you. Yeah. Like, literally take that in. The one that's learning how life works is a you that doesn't exist and you're identified as. So when I was in my 20s, I used to perform stand-up comedy. I toured. I would have drinks after the show. I would have so much fun, do these giant shows. At one point, I almost died. I was hospitalized on the road and I had pneumonia on the road. And I at one point had done, 200 gigs in a row every night, 2 flights a day,
Wow.
And stand-up comedy, I thought, was my dharma. Like, as a child, I wanted to be a comedian, but guess what? My dad's uncle was a famous prop man for a prop man for a famous comedian named Gallagher. And then he worked for Carrot Top. My grandma was on the Carol Burnett show. My dad only felt like I existed and connected to me through when we watched stand-up comedy together. He was a very spaced out man. And there were a couple times in my childhood where he beat me in my bedroom. And I believe that I thought my number one dream was to be a stand-up comedian. But I actually wonder if it was what I created to not get hit and to be seen. And so a false Kyle was born. And that Kyle wanted to be a comedian, but maybe it was because he was scared he wouldn't be seen or loved by his dad. And so a false Kyle existed through my 20s. He drank, he partied, he went to the next gig, he performed again, he was in another city, 2 flights a day. At one point, almost died. That was the beginning of his awakening. And that, and also suddenly getting anxiety and a fear that I would faint on stage right when I was given my own Comedy Central special. So all of a sudden, I think that who I am as a stand-up comedian, if it doesn't exist, if it goes away, I go away. So I had to learn how to be a number one comedian. So I started my Tony Robbins journey and started learning how to picture that I had a number one special. And that was the Trojan horse into Michael Beckwith and Eckhart Tolle, Hawkins. I had to die without dying. And I had to go through the fall apart and go through, I'm going to faint when I'm on stage, and go through a massive anxiety attack. Then I started wanting to teach comedians that they could do this. And I started creating a comedy boot camp where they could work with me. And then a bunch of comics, I just said to Louis Anderson, who partnered with me, I want to get over what comedians think about me because I feel like I'm being judged through the grapevine. I tell Louis that I want to get over what comedians think of me, and a comic writes a blog about me and attacks me, and it goes viral. The comics share it. All of a sudden, I've said to Louis Anderson out loud, I want to get over what people think of me. And God said, there's only one way to do that. Make everyone
the hard way. Yeah.
Because you won't change if you go talk a few of those comedians into liking you again. We need to blow this up and have you face your biggest fear where you lose all control so that you will get closer and closer to God. Right. So I find that when I have the option of doing it the easy way, sometimes I will negotiate with that. Like, oh, it's like you can choose, and you go, one drink won't hurt me. All right, hurt him, right? Like, make him go through whatever he needs to go through, because when we have the choice of by the way, just so the person asks, no, McBuckets 5457. Just so you know, you do have the choice of the easy way right now. You have the choice of fasting, meditating for the rest of the day, letting go of, heavy things, moving towards what your highest is. You currently have choices of the easy way, but a lot of times we just don't choose it. We aren't leveraged sometimes because life still is simple enough. So we wait till the hard way goes, I'm going to blow up everything in your life so that you have no choice but to go. But just so you know, I would debate that you have the choice of the easy way available right now. Like, everyone watching could right now put their phones down, meditate for the rest of the day, merge with God, fast for 10 days, just drink water, go inward, let go, do the highest thing. There's a thing they know their heart says to do now. But they might just get off this call and be like, all right, time to flip through and go back on Instagram. I probably will. And then life will be like, okay, that's enough. I'm going to blow up your shit and make everything suck again, because you're not doing the thing that you need to do. So you get a little bit of a negotiation period. But everyone right now could do the easy way, but they got a comfort with some old way. So we'll just do it that way. God's like, you can negotiate with me for a while, and I'm going to ruin your life for a year after that. And then you can learn again later. But I just want to offer, it's debatable if the easy way isn't available right now. It's just not what your ego wants. And so you might not choose it.
Have you heard the phrase, choose your hard?
No.
Okay. No. Well, I'm going to introduce you to a great phrase. This is like a life mantra to keep with you, man. Choose your hard. It's such a great phrase because it's like, meditating all day is hard. Losing your job and going bankrupt is hard. Like, which one? Choose your hard, Which hard do you want? Because there is no easy path for the ego. For the Christ, yes, of course. Every path for the Christ is easy. But for the ego, it's always a hard path. So just choose your hard is the only real option you have. Yeah. And why does it have to be hard? Because we need contrast to learn what we are. So hard equals contrast. Contrast equals awareness and learning. And so life is just constantly putting us into these choice points of, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to this? And the right way to respond is hard. The wrong way to respond, the selfish way, feels easy in the moment. Oh, let's bypass. Let's not deal with that. Let's avoid. And then it gets way harder on the back end. So it's like, which hard do you want? Do you want it to be hard now and easy and good later? Yeah. Or do you want it to be easy now and super hard later?
It's huge to realize, just so you know, it'll suck both ways. So you might as well take the way that sucks. It'll take you somewhere, right?
Embrace the suck, as they say, right?
Yeah, exactly. I noticed there's two types of pain, right? There's the pain of facing the real thing and it all falls apart, but you get closer to God. That can kind of be a one-time thing every once in a while. Meaning like it, or the constant, steady, addictive, numbed pain that kind of is more depressing, but always there. Like, why do I keep doing that overeating? Why do I keep, looking online all day? Why? I know I shouldn't. So you're like burying a pain. So it's not the Band-Aid being pulled off. Like, it's just like covering it up, like drinking does. I like the big wound pain more. It's like, like the big wound, pull the Band-Aid off, get closer to the truth. That is a death pain, but that death, you feel that, and then whatever it was that was stuck there permanently falls out. The other one is to numb that, and it'll come up later, So that's what we want to do, is stop numbing it and just look at it and let it dissolve, versus, because it'll come out later. You think of all those articles when they asked people that are dying their biggest regrets. They still got to say it all and get it out and cry it out before they die. My mom, she had dementia in the last week of her life. My mom was in the hospital like disassociated, saying confessions and being dark and weird and saying fears she had. Like, she had no control. And that her was saying kind of crazy stuff. I was hearing my mom share her fears and all these things that were repressed, and things that happened to her and what people did to her and things she felt bad about. They were all coming out. It's like, it was the body was like, hey, before she dies, get all this stuff out. You know, so since it'll come out later, you might as well face it now. You know, like it'll always come up. So anything you feel is like a thing you got to deal with later. It'll come out later worse. It's like the dentist, like, just go and do the freaking appointment, and you don't go a year later and have to get root canals.
Yeah.
You know,
you'll get them.
You'll get them, but you can just clean it now and it's fine.
You just clean your teeth now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your mother probably just had, through the dementia, just kind of got rid of that filter, the social filter for the ego, to not say the dirty things it doesn't want people to know about. When people get these cognitive declining issues in old age, they famously lose their filters. And you're like, oh, they become so senile in their old age. You're like, no. They did not become senile. They just lost the ability to hide their senileness. It was always there, just covered up cleverly by the ego.
Yeah. That's why it's weird. Like, from older generations now, they're like suddenly saying they're becoming incredibly racist because they grew up in that time, or, you know, becoming like saying just like, oh, I thought you were this innocent thing. And it's like, because the kindness was the sweet character that was shutting down. Like, the kindness isn't sincere. It's on a mountain of craziness, right? And so life's like, that's a volcano waiting to happen. And so we're going to pull the lie off and let her be like a dream. Like, she's going to talk like a dream does. It's irrelevant. You have no control over it. You can't believe what you're seeing. And then you wake up and you ask ChatGPT to decode her.
Yeah. Please explain my mom.
Yeah.
It's like, there's always whatever version of us we don't think will get love from others. You know, if I show this part of me, it will not be accepted by others. Then the ego sort of invents a mask to put on over it. The kind person, the overly agreeable person, the peacemaker. And these are all the defenses and masks ego puts on to hide the part of us that actually, if we were to express it, I don't think anyone would love this part of me. And so the solution is not to express it and hope people love it, because they probably won't, right? Because it's going to trigger their shit too.
Right.
The key is for you to love it. Once you love that part of you, and it's like, it doesn't matter if people rejected my cynical side or my whatever side it is, I think is not lovable. As long as I accept it, I'm free in this moment. And that is the merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost. The cost is always going to be something hard, something uncomfortable. That's why it's what the word cost implies there, right? If spiritual growth was easy, it would be meaningless to us. There'd be no rich depth or beauty or divine experience to it if it didn't come through challenge and polarity and contrast. So since we're already getting it every day, nonstop onslaught of new catalysts every day, you might as well just show up every day to say, look, how do I merge with my soul today, no matter what it costs me? And the me is the ego, right? Not the Christ.
And that cost makes so much beautiful humility. You know, if a kid turns 16 and their parents just give them a car, it's a lot different than if they earn the car.
A lot different.
And you just would breed a bunch of egoic narcissists if we don't go through the cost. Like, we'd all just be what we wanted to be. So there's no depth, there's no life, there's no, you know, one of the amazing things, one of the many millions of amazing things my wife Amber brought into my life, one of the things she brought me is a love for this band that I used to make fun of, named the Indigo Girls. You know, the comic in me used to make fun of them. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're a great band from the last 30 years or so. And their songs, I didn't realize, are some of the most conscious songs ever. And
you showed me them.
Oh, did I? Yeah. I love them.
Great harmonies, right?
Great harmonies. They can do this thing where they're like two different things are happening at the same time, then come together, then go away. Like, it's amazing. But there's one song that, I mean, they have like 10 songs that are some of the most conscious songs I've ever heard. But one is called the Wood Song. And the Wood Song has these lyrics, and it says, but if the wood is but the wood is tired. They're talking about the wood in a boat, and they say, but it's obviously a metaphor for life. And they say, but the wood is tired and the wood is old. But we'll make it fine if the weather holds. But then it says, but if the weather holds, then we miss the point. That's where I want to go. In other words, if everything goes okay, then we miss the point of life. Yeah. Like it literally has to fall apart for us to grow. It's like the most beautiful thing. Like they're saying, like, if we'll make it fine if the weather holds, but then it gets so good when it says, but if the weather holds, then we miss the point. That's where I want to go. And one other song that isn't them that reminds me of the same message is David Bowie has a song called Quicksand. And he says, don't believe in yourself. Don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with death's release. He says, don't believe in yourself. Don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with death's release. You don't hit knowledge until you die to yourself over and over and over again.
Come on.
And this life I've had has been probably living through what would have been 50 reincarnations, but doing them all in this life. I die every week now. Like I just sit here and go, that's coming. I feel it. I can feel the lie. I'm dying. I'm falling apart into me. More God, more now, more truth, more freedom, less addiction, less diversion, less, sorry for existing. Now I can feel something. So like, that's why it has to be the hard way. The hard way is because growth comes through the death of what you're not. Breakthrough is the death. You can't even orchestrate your own breakthrough. Like ego goes, how do I have a breakthrough? It's like a breakthrough is when that voice that says, how do I have it, dies. So the breakthrough is the lack of the fall apart of control. So death, while staying alive in the body, is what the hard way is. And you want to die to yourself over and over and over. What suicide is when you believe you're the pattern so much that wants to die. So all you have to do is get the pattern wants to die. You don't. You're all that is. You never want to die, but your pattern is ready to go. That's why we feel suicidal thoughts. And then we can make the mistake of covering it up with drinking. So we don't just let it die. We numb it. That's where that's what depression is, basically.
Oh, this is so good, man. And we'll close with this. This is a great way to understand the resurrection metaphysically, the symbology of it. You said something really powerful there. You said something like growth only happens through the death of what you're not.
Right.
Growth happens through the death of what you're not. What a better metaphor for the cross than that Jesus lays down his physical body on the cross, the false self, and what resurrects is the true divine self. That is an archetype for all of us. Jesus is showing us the hard way on the cross. Jesus literally said this, bro. He said, narrow is the way that leads to life, and there are few that find it. So therefore, strive to enter through the narrow way, not the broad way. That word strive in Greek is agonizomai, which means to struggle, to strive with great effort and difficulty. So he was saying, look, the way is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it, because the hard is the dying to the self. If anyone wants to be my disciple, you better first die to himself. Right. Then you can take up your cross and follow me. That's the resurrection arc, right? It means that we grow, we resurrect to our true nature, the Christ, by dying to the old nature, the false nature, the human nature that is depicted in the crucifixion. I mean, this is the reason why that image, that Catholic image, is so powerful and transcendent across time, because it is a living picture of the human experience when it's done correctly, right? You can always try to rip the nails out and jump off the cross and run around. They're going to grab you again, throw you back on the cross. Like, you might as well just let that part of you die and see what resurrects on the other side.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? How, that makes so much more sense than just saying logically, the way to get into heaven is to just ask everyone if they believe that thing and then eat and live horribly and just shame everyone else that doesn't believe what you believe. Yeah. Or connect to God, see how that metaphor would apply to the death of your egoic self that thought who it was its money or the relationship or what people think about you. Let yourself be, life is going to crucify you in so many different ways over and over and over again. You will be crucified. You will go inward. You will let whatever actually was crucified fall apart. And Now when you get good at this, it is about 3 days later you rise. Like it's about 3 days later, you're like, okay, I got it. I get it now. The old stuff took me about 5 years, but now I'm like, got it. I stabbed. I know it's already, I get it. I'm going through the thing.
Got it.
I'm in my ego. I feel like crap for a few days. I had a realization 3 days later. Obviously, like that, I mean, like the idea that you're just supposed to come onto earth, believe this thing, hear this, and just get mad at a bunch of people and do no inner work on yourself is the most obvious, craziest thing. It's like we are here to embody that teaching, to become that, to follow our true self, to ask ourselves what expands my soul, let go of what contracts it, stop doing things that egoically distract you or addict you from the false self coming to light, move into the true self, and become a better, truer version of a merged with God self that brings more light and love to the world in a much more selfless way. Because I notice, by the way, doing things that are selfish isn't fun anymore. Even like I can't just sit and watch even movies for it's like I want to be in service. I find more love cleaning out the garage than in being in service or doing something for my family than just feeding myself or doing something addictive, right? Like it's just
true, man.
The self is not fulfilled anymore through selfish acts. So it's very obvious that's what we're here to do. And
man.
And you can see the ones that aren't and are just mad at everyone are also mad all the time, addicted and stuck and feeling angry. And you want to have a personal relationship with God and let go of what other people are doing, bring a level of light and example and butterfly to the world, and see the world mirror the inner work that you did. That sounds like a much more fun simulator to be in.
Simulator. Man. If there is an easy way, it would be falling so in love with God that you're more than willing and happy to lay down anything God asks, lay down any treasure required of you to have more of God. That's really the only easy way there is. And of course, the ego can't do that. Only the Christ can do that. So it's still hard for the ego. But the idea is like, when you are living in service, when you're doing loving actions, you're making yourself an extension of love. There's only one love, one God in the universe. And so to make yourself of service is to make yourself an extension of God in your world. And so that's what will bring you closer to God, is actually becoming an extension of God. So you can't keep it to yourself. It's got to be, you got to give it away. And we do that naturally as well. As we heal our mind and we love ourselves and we forgive ourselves, then we naturally afford the same love and forgiveness to everybody else.
Yes, sir, man. I'm with you, brother.
Good stuff, man.
Beautiful.
Well, Kyle, what a great conversation this was. We've been going on 2 hours now. My goodness, just snapped on by. I don't want to keep you any longer than I already have, but thanks for staying overtime, man. Thanks for taking questions with us. And please tell the audience, if they're not familiar with you, where they can get in touch with your work.
Yes, I actually got a whole printout from my team because there's a thing we're doing next week, December 13th and 14th, that I'd love to invite everybody to come to. I'm doing a 2-day event over the weekend online. It's called Out with the Old, In with the Now. This is a guided meditation talk combination. Aaron, you're welcome to show up if you want to say hi too on any of it.
Nice.
And no pressure too. We could discuss it later, but I'll just
come over, bro.
Yeah, please do. You live 8 minutes from me. I would love that.
I do.
But if people want to join, that's a pay whatever you want thing. So they can go to, this is where they go. Right now we're building a new site. So it's kind of a fluke site we're on right now, but so go to app.kylecease.com/now. So so remember the app part is basically, so kylecease.com/now, but put app on the beginning of that. And then, dude, I have so many other things. We have, there's a ton of stuff. If they go to that, we could just tell them more stuff. But for right now, we have guided meditations. They can go to app.kylecease.com/receive. There's also my course called Your Soul Is Not for Sale. That's an incredible 3-day course. That's app.kylecease.com/soul. I'll just tell you those for now. Join us at the event next week. Once the new website's up, you'll see everything. But I would love to have them on our event next week, and they can just show up for a little bit or a lot. It's pay whatever you
Yeah.
want. It's a donation-based thing. So for that, that's the most important. You can join us for just an hour if you want, but join us at that.
Nice.
It's going to create an incredible intention for 2026. Move to the now. We're going to heal deep wounds. Go to app.kylecease.com/now. Pay whatever you want, if any, and join us. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds exciting, man. Yeah, you sent me the poster for that earlier today, and I love the title. Read the title again. What was it?
It's called Out with the Old, In with the Now. I just meditated and
Yeah,
it came
that's it.
through. And it's so funny, I was trying to come up with a solution to a different problem. I meditated, it let go of the problem and goes, I want you to make a course called Out with the Old, In with the Now. And it was just like funny how merging with God like made this course. And I know that it's going to be so fun. It's online live. They can ask questions. I'll bring people on and shift them. It's going to be so much fun, December 13th and 14th. Even if you just allot for an hour or two, go to that link and join us. And we'd love to see you there. There's going to be a bunch of people there.
Nice. Yeah. Please join us next week, guys, at Kyle's event. Again, it's app.kylecease.com/now. And I see some people putting that in the chat. So thank you, guys. And Kyle, again, thanks so much for joining me today. I love you so much, brother. So grateful for your friendship and all the wisdom that you shared with us today, man.
Thank you, brother. That was one of my favorite talks. I'm sorry we couldn't do it from the studio, but it was meant to be. It was fun to do.
Maybe we wouldn't have been as locked in, Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe I'd just be like the whole talk showing you, and this is the background, and that's a camera, and you're like, can we talk? So maybe the interview
exactly. We would have been too distracted enjoying our own backgrounds.
Right? Exactly. I love you too, brother. Let's go grab a lunch. Let's talk and raise the vibration of our souls in the world. And I actually have a one-on-one right now I have to go to, so I'm out. But
okay, we'll let you go.
Awesome.
We'll make it happen. Thank you, brother.
Good to see you, buddy.
Lots of love.
Love you too, brother.
Man.
Bye, everybody.
Beautiful. What a fun talk with Kyle Cease. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for your questions. And I hope that you enjoyed this session of the Awaken the Christ Within Summit. We got more action coming at you later today and tomorrow. So if you haven't registered yet on YouTube, you can click the link below to register to get access to the rest of the sessions. And other than that, guys, enjoy your Monday. Shalom, be blessed. And we'll see you on the next session of Awaken the Christ Within. Peace and love, you guys.